Indie Beacon Radio with host B. Alan Bourgeois. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Howdy, and welcome to another edition of Indie Beacon Radio. This is your host, B. Alan Bourgeois, and I have with me C J Peterson, who has tons of books to talk about. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. You've been with us before, and so we've got a little bit of history as far as you being on the show and what you are. But for the new audience, why don't you just briefly mention who you are and what got you into writing?
Well, who I am, I'm C J Peterson of cjpetersonwrites.com. What got me into writing was I'm a Christian fiction author, and a lot of Christian fiction books are in this pretty little package with a neat little bow, and I didn't fit that. And I'm more of a realistic Christian, and I wanted to write stories that would be a little bit more true to life than the average book. And the messages that are in the stories, because my characters go through everything, hopefully touches the hearts of those who read it. When my husband and I decided to publish the books, our main goal was not to make money, which, as any author knows, that's pretty slim anyway. Our main goal was to get the messages out that are in the books themselves.
You have about 14 books, is that right?
Correct.
So let's start with your first series. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, they all kind of intertwine, so I'm going to go a little bit into each of them, and then I'll explain how they intertwine. The first one is the Grace Restored series. It follows Katie McKenna. There's police, there's FBI, there's lots and sorts of action here and there. I'm ADD, so I write them as if I'm watching a movie in my head. If it's boring, I pull the scene. I delete it and start over and make it a little bit more action. They're usually pretty unpredictable as far as storylines go. They keep you guessing all the way through. The Holy Flame Trilogy is the second one. That follows Casey Carter. She's a firefighter, paramedic. There's firefighting, and military is in that one as well. And then the third series is the Divine Legacy series. And before I jump into that one, I'm going to talk about the Strength from Within book that just launched in September. That follows Stacy Spencer. Hers is about corruption in a small town and how they overcome it together with a smaller group of people. The reason I wanted to mention those series is, first of all, because those three, the Grace Restored series, the Holy Flame Trilogy, and Strength from Within, are all going out at the same time. The Divine Legacy series does a 20-year jump. And they're basically the kids of these other three series. So in case you couldn't tell by now, the series is actually crossover storylines. You get a little bit more of a different character story in a different series. The underlying group is called Angel, which is available to nurture God's eternal love. They get their assignment from the Archangel, who ships them out in the world to help people. So when the next generation takes over this group of angels, it gets really interesting because they are very inexperienced and they find themselves in a lot of trouble, including what I call an international incident angel style. So it's exciting, it's fun.
All right, and then you have a children's book, and is that going to be a series as well? Tell us a little bit about the children's book.
Yes, that follows Chief and Sarge. I am not normally a children's author. This is a happy accident, and when I tell people that all the time, they kind of laugh at me. And I said, for real. When we were in California, I collect monkeys. When we were in California, we were at one of the bases. My husband's a retired Navy senior chief. And we were at one of the bases shopping, and I saw this cute little monkey, and it had a USMC, United States Marine Corps, kerchief on. And I'm like, he's adorable. I want him. So my husband loves me, and he got him for me. And we named him Sarge because he's from the Marines. He was the Marine Corps monkey. So on the way home, we took pictures of Sarge doing different things, especially things that, kids could get in trouble for. He's a monkey, so he's a little bit naughty, getting into all sorts of problems and trouble. People fell absolutely in love with him. We took him on a trip to NAS Jacksonville, which is the Naval Air Station Jacksonville. And of course, he got himself in trouble there too. And people, again, were just falling all over him. And I said, I think Sarge needs a big brother. So we got a koala, and we named him Chief for Trevor being the senior chief. So we have a Navy and a Marine Corps. So they're working together, as the Navy and Marine Corps actually often do when it comes to docs. The koala, their personalities fit each other. The koala is more laid back, and Sarge the monkey gets in trouble all the time, high energy. We've taken them on cruises, we've taken them on USS Kidd, we've taken them on so many different trips, the Grand Canyon, and we take pictures of them, like I said, doing things that kids want to do, but they can't because they would probably get in trouble. And so when we took them on the cruise, which is why the first book is cruising, husband actually took them down a water slide, and there's videos of that on their Instagram. And people were just like, okay, what's with the monkey and the koala? Because I literally carried them around my backpack, their little heads sticking out everywhere we went. And they were like, what is up with this monkey and the koala? And I just told them, I said, it's a children's book thing that I'm doing. Oh, I didn't say children's book first. I said, it's a children's thing that I'm doing that allows kids to experience something they may not be able to do otherwise. Now, this was pre-COVID, so I didn't think of it really applying there, but because of COVID, a lot of kids can't go and explore right now. And so they can go on and see all the pictures online of the different people that Chief and Sarge met, the trouble that Chief and Sarge get into and get out of, the different things that Chief and Sarge can do because they are stuffed animals. They can't get in as much trouble as a child can. So those pictures are all on the website, and they're on their Instagram. They have a Twitter. They have their own webpage on Facebook. And so in April, we started working on the first children's book, which is Cruising. And that follows how we took them into the different ports. They met different people. And when we go on these exploring adventures, people get their pictures taken with Chief and Sarge. Their pictures go on social media. People love that idea, especially if, their kids do too. And so when we went to make the books, some of those pictures of the people that they met, different crew members, different people in towns, the different ports that we visited, their pictures are actually in the book, but they're cartooned. So it's the cartoon version of them. So that's the first book, and yes, it is going to be a series. This one's Cruising: The Adventures of Chief and Sarge, Book 1. The next one, I'm tossing around one or two different ideas, so I need to figure out which one I want to do first, but we have plenty of ammunition as far as picking out what their next adventure will be.
So, curiosity, because of ebooks, have you created an ebook where you can actually have the links to those videos to give more flavor to the stories?
No, but the page that has their web page is actually in the ebook itself. Okay. My website is on the ebook.
So they can go to your website and to the book's website to see the videos and stuff like that.
Yep. But they're, like I said, they're adorable. They're fun. We have them so that we figured out that Sarge is a size preemie clothes and Chief is a 3-month clothes. And we literally change their clothes every day, just like little children. They get sick. They've had the masks on because they got sick and they didn't want to get anybody else sick. They experience things that kids do. They just have fun doing it. They love chicken nuggets. They love junk food. They're just fun. We even took them to, it's called JJ's Arm Drop, which is the Memphis Street Outlaws that was over here near us. And they got to meet JJ and the crew, and they had their pictures taken, and those are up on the website as well. So they have fun, and it's unique. At first my family thought I was crazy, but then they saw that people really like them. So they have fun with them.
So with all the traveling that they have done, do you have a rough estimate of how many books you're going to end up doing?
Oh gosh, I already have enough for several books. When I originally created them, I wanted to do something. I'm an Army brat. I wanted to create something for military kids because not everybody understands what a military kid's life is like. And so I wanted specifically to go to the bases. And so there's at least 2 bases that I already have pictures of that I have to get approval, but I'm allowed to publish them. But we took them on things, like I said, like the USS Kidd that's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and had them explore. And even the little parts that are roped off, they climbed their little way in there and got their pictures taken. So we took them to it's like a natural museum in Louisiana where there's houses from like the 1800s still up, and there's a huge antique mall. And, they got themselves in a lot of trouble in there, but it's fun.
Good. Well, we are at a point I need to take a break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Do you send book sales to a company that takes most of your money? Want to earn more money from your book sales? Do you want a bookstore that supports you? Introducing a new bookstore for indie authors and small press, B4R.store. Earn up to 80% of your book sales and learn how to market yourself. B4R.store. Join us for the 6th Annual Authors Marketing Event in Granbury, Texas on July 23rd to the 25th, 2021, where authors share ideas and learn from the professionals over a 2-day weekend. Receive your book marketing certification from the only organization in the world that has been doing it for 5 years, Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-based organization that supports authors from around the world. Learn more at ame.authorsmarketingguild.com. Sponsored by IndieLector.store, a bookstore that pays authors their fair share.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
And welcome back. This is your host, Alan Bourgeois, and I have C J Peterson with me. Now, CJ, we've talked a lot about the children's book and not so much about your other books, which you have more of. So let's backtrack for a second here. If I get the title correctly, because it's a new book, The Seek Within?
Strength from Within.
Strength from Within. All right. So tell us about that one, because it's not only new, but it's old.
It is. It was my very first book because I didn't want to jump into the author world with a series. That could be kind of dangerous. So I wanted to, if you get yourself stuck in some certain pattern, you were just locked in for the series, and I didn't want to do that. So I wrote Strength from Within, I put it out, and I learned very quickly that it actually sucked. And I will own that, it sucked. So I quit advertising it. So people would ask me, how many books do you have out? I go, this was before Chief and Sarge, I'd say, well, I have 12 that I'm claiming. I was like, what do you mean that you're claiming? And I'm like, well, I'm not claiming the other one yet because I'm in the process of rewriting. Well, I'm a pantser when it comes to writing. Usually people are planners or pantsers. And being a pantser, having to stick to some sort of a storyline is almost painful. So it literally took me about 6 months to change it from first person to third person and to basically almost completely rewrite it, but keep the thin line that stayed in line with the other books, because like I said, the stories, the characters cross over storylines. So Stacy Spencer's the main character. She actually comes in the first book of the Grace Restored series, Seasons of Change, and she leaves in the third book, which is Spring Shadows. But her son comes into play in the fourth book of the Divine Legacy series. So there were certain things certain elements that I still had to keep in there and keep in play. And I was able to go deeper into the characters, and it doesn't suck anymore. And I'm happy to tell people about it because it's a lot better now. But it's about corruption within a small town. Stacy's in high school, and they moved to this small town called Pinecrest, Ohio, after she loses her mother in a car accident. And she's not only recovering from that shock, but she's also recovering to a brand new environment, which she's never had to experience before. And she finds herself in a lot of trouble. She clicks in with the right group, but somebody from the not right group has an unhealthy interest in her, and it causes a lot of issues.
Okay. So there's a lot to unwind in that, and finding out more about the characters are in the other books and stuff. So that brings up a good question. one that a lot of authors experience, and that's those voices in the head. Do you get that a lot where all these different characters are saying, you know, it's my turn?
Yes, certain characters, especially a couple I could think of from the Divine Legacy series, I was just putting them in for what I thought was that particular book, and they're like, no, we want to stay. So we're staying. Not only are we staying, but we're becoming a bigger part of the story. And I'm like, okay, that's the pantser in me, which allows that to happen. And it's like, I never go against the character of the character when I'm writing a story, because people don't understand how I keep everybody straight. And I said, well, I don't go against the character of the character. And I make sure that each character is somewhat straight in my mind. I keep a running list of all of the characters. And that allows me to kind of keep everything still straight, but keep the idea of what I'm wanting to do. And mainly when I go to start a book, I never know how they're going to end. I never know how the series is going to end. Usually a song will trigger a scene, and that's the scene I need to get to. But how I get there, I have no idea. I just sit down, type, and write.
Okay. So you have a new book coming out, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But for these series, are you playing with more books that you plan on having out soon, or are you starting another series? How is that all working out?
Well, I have one more that I want to do with this, but that's not really kind of high on the list. It's a Christmas one that's basically going to tie all the series is up in a pretty little bow. That's going to be the pretty little bow one. That won't be till next year. In the meantime, I'm working on, this is kind of venturing into a new genre, believe it or not. It's Christian sci-fi. Because not a lot of people, I mentioned to my husband that's what I wanted to do, and he's like, is that even possible? And I said, it is the way I want to do it. And so being a sci-fi geek myself and a nerd, I will own it. I do Comic-Cons. I'm a cosplayer with Star Trek Pathfinder. And so that's my thing, that I love cosplays and I love Comic-Cons and I love sci-fi. And I'm like, you know what? I want to do it. I want to try it. So I have a trilogy going, and I told my sister, I actually reread it the other day, the first book of it, before I jumped into the second. And I'm like, you know, it's actually not that bad. And she says, yeah, sometimes I read them and I think, wow, that actually was pretty good. So it's turning out really well, and I'm very happy on how it's turning out.
Good. All right, so we've got a few minutes left to talk about the anthology. So what is this all about?
Well, we have an anthology coming out on the 5th of November. Currently, the ebook is on pre-order for 99 cents, and it will be on pre-order until November 5th, at which point it will go up to $1.99. The paperback will launch on November 5th, and that's going to be $9.99 on Amazon. And what it is, there are 12 authors with 11 short stories. And I say that because 2 of the authors co-authored one of the stories. And there are people like Charles Brakefield and Max Berkey co-authored one. Lydia Mann, LM Mann, has done one, and I've done one, and there are, like I said, several other authors. And they're really cute, and they're fun, and some of them are not so cute. Some of them are kind of interesting. They're as eclectic as the different authors themselves. We just told them it had to be holiday themed, and what they took from there was their own thing, and they took it and ran. There's puppies, there's Christmas blessings, there's lessons learned. There's even a kaiju, which is for those who aren't aware what a kaiju is, that is Godzilla. There's one where Satan comes in and tries to distract Santa from actually leaving at his 12 o'clock appointment. It's interesting, but it's really unique, and it'll make you think. But we're having a Facebook Live event on the 5th for it. And like I said, all 11 authors, or all 12 authors, are currently going to be there. They're each giving away one thing for their little segment, and then we have a grand prize total that will be bigger than obviously each of the little ones, but a grand prize that somebody can win as well. All you have to do is be there, pay attention, because I ask questions over, who's speaking, depending upon who's speaking, and you can win prizes.
Great. And is this something that you guys are planning on doing on an annual basis?
Yes. We're putting this through Texas Sisters Press, which is mine and Lydia's publishing company. And we just started accepting new authors in August. We've already got one that had a book launch, and we have one that's in the pipeline and another one that's still working on it. And then we decided to do an anthology, see what it's like. And it turned out really well. I got the proof copy the other day and I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty good. So yes, that's one thing we're planning on doing each year. So we're going to start looking for authors soon for, the next time around, but it's fun. I like it. It's unique.
Okay. We are at that point. I need to take another break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
World War II, the Holocaust and a mysterious package arrives in New York from Germany 40 years after the war, involving 3 families across the oceans. Mystery, intrigue, and correcting the most heinous of wrongs. This is just part of the story Michael Newman tells in his book, Between These Walls. Available in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or at indielector.store. Buy it today and enjoy this thriller of a novel. Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
All righty, and welcome back. This is your host, Alan Bourgeois. You are watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, and I have C J Peterson with us. We were just talking about her anthology that she's working on with her co-writers and stuff of that nature, but also about her press, Two Sisters Press. Is that correct?
Texas Sisters Press.
Texas Sisters Press. All right. So with that being a new one, what are your goals with this, and how can people reach out to you to see if they qualify to be published within your organization?
Well, I'm going to answer the second question first. The second question is literally just go to our site and you can fill out a form that's on the front page, and I will get back with you and we'll connect. What we'd like to do is when authors contact us, we'd like to do a Zoom meeting, which allows us to find out where the author is in the process and how it is that we can help them. As far as what we do, we started the company for a couple reasons. One was because we wanted to put something clean out there. Our basic guideline is if our 88-year-old mother can read it and not blush, we're good. So that's number one. Number two is we wanted to put out, we've seen authors being taken advantage of a lot, being authors ourselves. And we wanted to not take advantage of authors, so we're a bit of a hybrid. So people are like, well, you have to pay to publish, then it's vanity press. Well, that's not true because we don't take everything. Secondly, we want you to have an investment within the book itself, because if you don't, then you won't do a lot of the marketing that needs to be done. What we also do is we put our brand behind the authors. I will literally sit down with you for about 10 hours on Zoom, and I will teach you marketing and branding, and we will work together to get it done. The other thing we look for is, it's kind of painful being an indie author before we started this, because some of the indie author books look like indie author books. They look amateur. And we wanted to put out quality books. So the book has to come to us already professionally edited. If it's not, don't worry. We have a list of editors that we can recommend. We don't get kickbacks from them. We just recommend them because we've worked with them or we know somebody who has worked with them. So we try to work with the author to make it as painless as possible, because we remember jumping in and not knowing anything. And we try to make sure that we put our brand behind our authors. That's our Texas Sister Press slogan. We put out quality books and we put our brand behind our authors. We stand behind them.
Okay. And as far as your books, are they on that website, or do you have a different website for your books?
Well, on the second page, it says TSP authors. You can find the bio of every one of our authors. And mine is on there, which sends you to cjpetersonwrites.com. That's cjpetersonwrites.com. My books are all over there. I'm a author, blogger, and podcaster, so that's on there as well. The series books are under the series tab, and the standalone books are under the standalone tab. And then Chief and Sarge have their own little page.
Okay. And of course, they're available on Amazon, Indie Lecter, and all the other major bookstores.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Okay. There is a special for Chief and Sarge coming in November where we're going to have their paperback book for only $9.99. So those who are looking for a good Christmas gift, I've got them.
So considering you do a lot of things, the podcast, the author, publisher, all these different things, with about the minute we have left, what words of advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about being an author?
First of all, write what you know. It's a lot easier when you have the perspective. Write timeless. Don't write per what the latest genre is that people are looking for. Write for yourself. Write the story that you want to find. That's originally why I wrote, because there was nothing like what I wrote out there. And I wanted to write something that somebody may enjoy that they might not see otherwise. And do your homework.
And real quickly, go ahead and give us the website for Texas Sisters Press.
You make me spell it out. TEXASSISTERSPRESS. TexasSistersPress.com.
All righty, good. Well, thank you very much for being with us, and we wish a lot of luck and look forward to seeing what comes out next.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with the host, B. Alan Bourgeois. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Alan Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Alan Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord